It was around Mother's Day in 1994. She called me and said, "He's gone. I'm out, and I'm not going back."
She left him. She was no longer in his control. He was obsessed with her. He could not stand to lose her, and so he murdered her. In his mind, she belonged to him. And if he couldn't have her, then nobody could.
He couldn't let her be free.
June 3rd, 9 days before she was murdered. You hung up on me last night. You're gonna pay for this, bitch. You think you can do any fucking thing you want. You've got it coming.
The jury became desensitized to the domestic violence abuse, and Marcia scrubbed it. She said, "We're gonna go forward with the scientific blood evidence that we have, and that's gonna be our case."
Ms. Clark.
Good afternoon. Once you see the vast array of physical evidence, you can see that there's virtually an ocean of evidence to prove that this defendant committed these murders. What all of it does, all of this evidence, is it links the defendant to the victims and the crime scene at Bundy.
There's a huge amount of blood around these two bodies. Leading away from those bodies was a set of footprints. To the left of those footprints was a set of blood drops. And Simpson had a cut on his left hand.
The most obvious evidence were the blood drops along the walkway at the crime scene, and that's what the work was done on.
Mr. Harmon, you may call or recall your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. People call Mr. Sims, Gary Sims.
All right, Mr. Sims, would you resume the witness stand?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Sims, we have a few additional results that were not available the last time you testified.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to the Bundy rear gate stamp. Did those DNA tests match Mr. Simpson's blood reference type?
Yes, they did.
And what result was obtained?
The profile detected in this stain occurs in approximately 1 in 57 billion African Americans.
That's pretty uniquely identifying. It's one of the most powerful pieces of evidence in the case.
Even after the abuse, even after everything that I heard, but when the DNA came out, that's when I went, oh my God, you did do this. It took me that long for me to really accept it. This just got real.
You cannot convict when the core of the prosecution's case is built on perjurious testimony of police officers, unreliable forensic evidence, and manufactured evidence.
Barry Scheck was brought on to destroy the scientific evidence and point out every little inconsistency that could point to a not guilty verdict.
The evidence from Bundy, the evidence from Rockingham and the Bronco, the evidence from Mr. Simpson itself passes through the Los Angeles Police Department, contaminated, compromised, and corrupted. Integrity of the evidence.
For every shadow of doubt that Barry Scheck tried to say, the prosecution came back and shored up the evidence gathering process.
Were any results produced foreign to either of the victims in this case, Ronald Goldman or Nicole Brown?
But it was just too technical.
The D1S80 data derives from two sources. The African American and Caucasian D1S80 data is from the...
It was exhausting.
Could you please describe the frequency of the combined type that you produced from DQ alpha in this case
Keep in mind the charge to jurors, and that is to acquit if there is reasonable doubt.
This would be just DQ alpha.
Just the, I'm not asking you to...
And complexity breeds doubt.
June 15th, 1995. The start of the testimony was unfolding nicely for the prosecution. They entered into evidence that it was a very rare pair of extra large brown isotoner gloves and a receipt that clearly showed that Nicole had purchased these gloves and most likely had given them to O.J. Simpson.
During 1990, how many pairs of Eris isotoner leather-like gloves, brown in color, size extra large, did Bloomingdale's purchase?
Approximately 300. These gloves were designed and developed for only Bloomingdale's and were sold nowhere else.
I saw the glove on the evidence table and I took a look. Now, I have a size 9 hand, and I'll show you the left one because the right one is crippled. But I said, that's going to be tight on me. O.J. Simpson's hands are bigger than you are. And I said, if those are tight on me, they'll never fit O.J. If they don't fit O.J., he's out. So I walked up, did a quick try on. They had a rubber glove inside them. I couldn't get them on. So I said to Chris Darden, you know, you're a good fellow, Chris, but you've got the balls of a stud field mouse. And he went bananas. How could you say that about me? I mean, you really had a thin skin. And I knew it. And I said, because as you stand here, you know that glove won't fit O.J. And if you don't ask him to put it on, I might. Darden took the bait.
Your Honor, at this time, the people would ask that Mr. Simpson step forward and try on the glove recovered at Bundy as well as the glove recovered at Rockingham.
All right, the record should reflect that, as is our practice with these gloves, Mr. Simpson will have a pair of latex gloves on while doing this.
Handing Mr. Simpson the glove from Rockingham.
That's people 77.
Yes. Mr. Simpson seems to be having a problem placing the glove on his hand.
Let's just be honest. O.J. wasn't a great actor, but on that day, he sold it to the jury that the gloves didn't fit.
It allowed Simpson effectively to testify without taking the oath and without being subject to cross-examination. I've never seen a prosecution allow a defendant to get away with that before.
Right.
O.J. standing up in front of the jury, facing the jury, with still a high degree of likability. And there's all kind of nonverbal communication that's going on there as well. They're finally getting to have their moment where they're close to this famous defendant, and they're looking at him with the gloves.